everybody, welcome to a brand new edition here of the show. My name is T and we are talking scary movies. I appreciate you tuning in. Don't forget, every Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, I'm either going to have some movie news, an opinion piece, or a new interview for you guys to check out. But throughout the week, I am dropping plenty of reviews on anything in the horror realm, including movies, TV shows, games, books, whatever. You don't want to miss any of that. And the best way to stay on top of everything I'm dropping is to get subscribed to my link tree. And you can do that by going to linktr.ee/T scary movie. If you get subscribed to my link tree, that's going to give you access to the YouTube page for the video versions of the show, to your favorite podcasting platforms for the audio only versions of the show, to your Letterboxd page for written reviews and movie rankings throughout the year, to my TikTok page for my short horror content, including movie news and movie premieres, to my Twitch page where you can catch all of my horror gaming, and to my Fangoria shop page where you can enjoy my 20% discount off anything in the Fangoria shop, including a yearly subscription to the physical magazine. You do not want to miss out on that. Hit that subscribe button right now, folks. Just as more subscribers I get, the more content I'm bringing to you. And we are just about to the end of July, where I'm going to give away this Tall Man Funko Pop. And in order to qualify for it, all you got to do is comment on any of my July videos. That gets you put in there for the drawing for it, and you can comment on as many of the videos as you like. So again, hit any of my July stuff I put out, reviews, new episodes, whatever, chance to win a Tall Man Funko Pop, y'all. So what are we talking about here tonight? Well, I did say that I was going to get started up with a bunch of werewolf movies here over the next week, that I was going to jump back into Dog Soldiers, check out The Howling, and The Beast Within. But before I can do that, I actually managed to squeak in getting to go see the new film Oddity in theaters, and so that is what we are talking about here tonight. So let's just jump right on into that here, folks. Now, if you haven't seen the trailer for Oddity before, this tells the story of twins Danny and Darcy. Now, Danny has moved into a countryside house with her husband Ted, while Darcy works running an antiquities shop back in the city. One random night, a stranger approaches Danny's house while Ted isn't there and tells her that somebody is inside and she must let him in order to save her life. Now, there's a question of whether or not Danny does open or not open that door, but either way, Danny ends up dead the next day, and a year later, Darcy is seeking to find out the truth behind what happened to Danny and the horror that resides in that house. And that's Oddity, folks. Now, from the jump here, I want to just say that I did enjoy this film. I think there's a lot of talk going around here right now about this movie being one of the best of the year, and honestly, considering like the stuff that we've got, and this is one of the better films that has come out this year here for sure. I think that Oddity has one of the best jump scares of the year in it as well too. One that absolutely caught me off guard, and those are the best kind, because that's clearly the point of a jump scare, is to get you out of nowhere. But a movie like this, I don't think I was really expecting it. Oddity had this great way of producing dread and just this general sense of spookiness over the entire runtime of it, to where Damian McCarthy, who wrote and directed this film, found ways to get great shots to where nothing could actually be happening, but that's not really the point. Just staring sometimes at things in a setting like this is enough to make your mind wonder and make your mind go wild, because you never know. Well, is like something gonna pop out from around the side or pop up? Are we gonna hear a noise? Is an apparition gonna appear? And what's really awesome about Oddity is the fact that it does take a while until we truly understand what kind of forces are at play in this story, and even then, it does manage to still give you a few spooky surprises with that as well too. Carolyn Bracken, who plays twins Danny and Darcy, you might remember her from a film that we talked about a couple years ago, You Were Not My Mother, to where she played played this woman who was replaced by a changeling that her daughter noticed there was a difference, and trying to find the mystery of what ultimately happened to her mother in the first place. And Carolyn Bracken was one of the best parts of that film, so I'm excited to see her pop up in something else, because this is one that I didn't think I was going to get a chance to see until it came out out on Shudder later on this year, which that's exactly where this will end up at. Probably by September, I would say this film should be premiering on Shudder for all of you. But either way, Carolyn Bracken does an amazing job in these dual roles, and while she does play Darcy way more than Danny, the thing is that Darcy gives her a bit more to do, because Danny is going to be not our typical horror character, but she's obviously, as I said, gets killed at the beginning of this film, and she gets thrown into some of the tropes that you might expect in a horror film where you're all alone, stranger shows up, and hey, there might be somebody in the house. And she gets to play that out very well, but that's all she really gets to do in the small role that she has. Whereas when Carolyn Bracken's portraying Darcy, who is this blind empath who has the ability to see the history of objects just by touching them, we know that she's going to have a lot more to work with this story, because this story very much highlights how all these things that surrounds this family manage to be incredibly important, whether it be something as simple as a ring or the glass eye of the person who approached Danny and Ted's house that fateful night as well, or whether it happens to be a lobby bell from a hotel that's supposedly cursed. Darcy has the ability to see the history of all these objects, and that will obviously play into this story that's unfolding. And one of these objects that does show up from Darcy and obviously Danny's collection is what can only really be described as a wooden golem, is the best way that I can describe to all of you. You've seen at this point the poster, hopefully, so you've seen what the golem looks like in there, and if you've seen the trailer, you know it's actually a little bit creepier than that. And I think the great thing about it is using that in the marketing, showing that in the posters and the trailers. I think all of us have that idea in our head that this golem is going to play this big central role to the story. And while there is a role that the golem for sure plays, again, things are much more focused on Darcy and what she's able to find out about the night that her sister did die. And therein lies the problem that I have with the movie. I think that Oddity is enjoyable. I think it's a good watch for sure, but the problem is that it's entirely predictable. I would reckon more than earlier than halfway through, a lot of you are going to be able to figure out where the story for this is going. I found myself very much finding it having a lot in common with a late 90s, was it late 90s? It might have been 2000, 2001, but there's a horror thriller out there that if I gave you the name, which I'll say that name of that movie at the end of the episode, it's gonna be a big giveaway for it. Some of you probably have it already in mind what that movie is, and you should if you consider Ted's job in the film, and you consider kind of the way that Danny at least was talking and acting at the beginning of this film before she passed away. You should be able to piece together, hopefully, the film I'm talking about. I'll reveal that at the end, because if I say it again, it's going to spoil so much of this movie. But it's predictable, and predictability is not bad in certain films if that's kind of the idea. Like, you know, I always talk about like slashers and whodunit and like whodunits, and the whole idea is you trying to figure out who that killer could be. And in a lot of those films, they don't really give you clues. The whole thing is that you're supposed to be surprised. You don't see it coming at all, because the film can't drop obvious clues to you, because then that would spoil the rest of it. But there's other films to where it makes it pretty clear. Who is orchestrating the events that are going on, and there should be enough hints that if you're paying attention, there isn't a guess by the end of the movie. So one could argue that McCarthy's script is actually set to like give us all the evidence and information we need to piece together what we already know. But I don't know if it's necessarily that, and that took away a lot of the enjoyment from the film, honestly, because they even go as so far to act like that they're going to diverge away from what the obvious prediction of this film is. And it turns out that divergence is just kind of like folded into the very obvious prediction. And again, it just seemingly hurts the product, doesn't make it as strong as it could be for me. Along with that predictability as well too, and we do have to dive into it a little bit with it, unfortunately. And this is, I'm trying to get around spoilers, y'all, because this movie literally just came out. But what I will say is that I was already a bit annoyed with the characterization of Ted, the husband, in this film. Just because I think we're past the trope, and I talked about it earlier this year. I think I talked about it a bit last year as well too. But I honestly think we need to get past the trope of a couple ends up in someplace spooky, and one person of that couple doubts anything spooky is actually going on. There's nobody in the house. There's no ghost here. There's no monsters. No one's trying to kill you. You just dreamed it, things like that. Whether it's the husband or whether it's the wife, I think it's a tired trope that honestly needs to be retired. And unfortunately, that was a big part of husband Ted in this. And granted, it doesn't stay that way. That's the mini spoiler I give you, is that Ted does not stay in this state of denial that's really set up. But it was annoying to see, just because I feel that trope is so overdone at this point. And wouldn't it just be refreshing if we see a couple, they believe it, and then after that, we just see what happens? This is not the movie for that, and I absolutely understand it. I'm saying that to y'all. This is not the movie to where that would really work. And again, that'll feed into the rest of the film for sure. But that, combined again with the predictability of it, just really didn't sit well. It was hard to really just get fully invested and immersed in everything that was going on with that. What did catch me off guard here, though, with Oddity was that it's actually funny in a few places too. This is not the kind of movie at all that you would think would have good laughs in it for sure, but there are a few, I'm just gonna call them needle drop laughs, that happen in this film that are so expertly done. And they are very much at the expense of Darcy's blindness. But Darcy's also the one that's kind of making the joke with it as well. So that is one thing. And let me not confuse you and say that it's like humorous throughout or that there's laughs throughout. This is a very dark and depressing film for sure. But the little bit of humor that they put in there really, really does work. And the story does a good job of having a comeuppance for anybody that's in the wrong in this film, and that can include as well our protagonist Darcy, because there are events that happen earlier on in the film that Darcy absolutely owns up to and says, you know what, I'll pay for this at some point. I'm going to pay for this incident happening, and I'm not going to tell you what that incident is. And I do love the fact that the movie does tell us that, if you do commit an atrocity in this film, you will be you're going to pay for that. It is going to come back to you, whether you want to say tenfold or not. It will always catch up. Karma comes around. And I thought that was very well done. The story made that perfectly clear with characters, and the ones that weren't really guilty of that didn't have to face that karma. And I like that story being told for sure. It told a great story about family and the duty that we have to them as well too, that just because that person is gone doesn't mean that we can't do more for them, and that sometimes we owe more to the people that have left us behind at this point, to do something for them in their honor. And that's very much what Darcy is trying to do here. A lot of this film is centered around the beliefs and the things that Darcy that Darcy and Danny grew up on, and how much that plays into Darcy's current life and Danny's afterlife now. And I love that those little touches come in, because it makes it a much more personal story. Now, the movie I'm going to tell you here that will basically spoil this entire film really for you is What Lies Beneath. If you've seen What Lies Beneath, this film is very, very reminiscent of that. Now, granted, no, it is not like a updated 24, 25 year later, reimagining of this film for sure, but it's hard not to see a lot of the similarities between that film, which is an excellent film. The performances are great. And again, it is spooky for sure. And there is a phenomenal jump scare in the film. And I definitely think it's going to be unnerving to a lot of you who have been looking for something spooky this year. For sure, I think this will kill during the Halloween season. But again, I just think there's a fundamental problem with this story being so easy to know exactly where it's going and what it's coming around to. And that just stopped it from elevating it to that level that I really wanted to see it at. That said, it is still worth your time, folks. It's probably not going to be in theaters for too long because a lot of these Shudder releases are very much limited releases, so check it out while you possibly can. Again, it will likely hit Shudder this fall, most likely in September. But yeah, I want to hear what you think about it in the comments. If you've had a chance to check this one out, tell me what you thought of Oddity, folks. Give you a chance to win a Tall Man Funko Pop. But that's going to do it for me here tonight. Hit that subscribe button because, again, I got werewolf reviews coming up for you guys. The Beast Within, Dog Soldiers, The Howling, and episode 2 of season 1 of Mayfair Witches. All of that's coming up here over the next week and much more after that, folks. Hit that subscribe button. My name is T. We've been talking scary movies. Stay scared. Boy here is a big fan of Fangoria. So, if you want to check out the world's best horror magazine that's out there, get a chance to get yourself your own subscription, which I just got my first one back in 2022 and I don't regret it for a second. But if you want your own Fangoria subscription or you like the Fangoria merchandise, then head over to the Fangoria shop and use my link if you want to save yourself some money, folks. That's an easy one to remember. Just go to shop.fangoria.com/AXDEW. Again, that's shop.fangoria.com/AXDEW, or use my specific code AXDEW at checkout. You can save 20% off your entire order, and that implies 2 subscription and one-time orders as well. You don't want to miss out, folks, because with the magnitude of horror movies we've had released in the last few years and with what we have on the horizon, Fangoria is going to be your #1 source for all that great, juicy, bloody information in the world of horror. So again, head to shop.fangoria.com. Hey there, folks! Thanks for tuning in to T Watch This Scary Movie. I appreciate you checking out another review or movie news, whether we're talking movies, TV shows, books, or games, whatever, it's all scary. Remember, you can check out new episodes every Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on the YouTube page for video. That's youtube.com/C/Theron Reynolds Scary Movie. Again, youtube.com/C/Theron Reynolds Scary Movie. And you can check out the audio version on all your favorite podcasting platforms. Just search T Watch the Scary Movie or TWASM. Don't forget, my name is T. We've been talking scary movies. Stay scared.